Greetings, everyone. I'm Reverend Deborah Johnson, Rev D, and welcome. Welcome to Inner Light. Welcome to our virtual time together, where we have a chance to talk about spiritual principles and how do we apply these things to our own lives. We talk about the universal spiritual principles, those things that cut across tradition or culture or history or time. It's not based upon any particular creed or dogma. It's the stuff of life. It's the stuff of life itself. Whether this is your first time with us, whether you've been with us many times, we say welcome, welcome. Just take a breath. Take a breath. Today, we're going to be talking about how is it that we're able to fill up, to grow into our own shoes, grow into our own shoes. You know, life is not a destination. Okay, it's a journey. It's a journey. And along the journey, we are spiritual travelers. Okay. So these shoes that I'm talking about, you might think of them as sort of the container. You know, the shoes are the things that you put your feet into to give you a little bit more leverage and a little bit more protection on the journey, but it's your feet. Okay. You can't have two pairs of feet into the same set of shoes. Okay. It doesn't work that way. So we're going to be talking about our own shoes and what does that mean for us to grow into them. You know, at Inner Light, we are about healing. We are about transformation. We are about individually and collectively healing through the revealing of our own inner light and through that omni-faith energy of love. Love, not just as an emotion, but as a power, as the unifying force in the universe. We help to provide tools for living that can teach us how to utilize these universal spiritual principles that we're going to be talking about. We're an omni-faith ministry, not just interfaith. It's not just about religions or specific religions. You don't have to have a specific religion. A lot of people who come to us consider themselves to be non-believers or atheists or agnostic. We have people who are from other traditions like Buddhism or Quakers or Judaism. All good because it's all life. Okay. We, as an omni-faith ministry, we embody spiritual oneness, we appreciate individualized expressions, and we honor all paths that are leading towards spiritual truth, that are going in that direction, all paths that are moving towards social justice, the paths that are moving towards environmental sustainability and regeneration. We're all traveling together and being a blessing to one another. So, whatever it is that you're learning here, whatever it is that you're grasping here, I'm encouraging you to not only use it in the ways that may seem obvious, stretch yourself a little bit. Okay. You know, ask yourself, well, what would this mean? What does this mean for my own personal situation? What does this mean for my health? What does this mean for my wealth, my prosperity? What does this mean for my relationships, my community? What does this mean for my career and my profession? What does this mean for us politically? What does this mean for our society? Okay. Because the same principles are true on the micro level and the macro level. You hear me say all the time that our biggest spiritual malpractice is inconsistency. It's just inconsistency. We go into forgetfulness. We use the spiritual principles for a little while and then we stop, or we're applying them in too narrow of a space. We're not using what we know everywhere. And I invite you into that journey. If I'm using some language and it's not the language that you use, translate it. I've made peace with the word called God, and you might hear me using that. I'm not talking about some white man up in the sky throwing down lightning bolts. I'm talking about a creative, energetic force that is the unifying principle of the universe. You might call it love. You might call it life. I'll use a lot of words interchangeably, and I encourage you to translate it in whatever way it works and makes sense for you. One of the tools that we offer every week are affirmative activations. These are concepts, they are phrases, they're principles, they're paradigms, they are precepts, they're perspectives, they're practices, they're all of that and so much more. They are designed to recalibrate our frequency, that as we really contemplate them, as we repeat them, as we apply them in our lives, then we start to recalibrate. We start to resonate then with the energy of the divine, not just the stuff around the world. We stop trending with the things that are just happening all around us, and we start to go to a more transcendent place where we're able to see with our third eye, our spiritual eye, and not just our natural eye. Like I said, it's a journey. And the affirmative activations will help you to have a more successful spiritual journey, a more rewarding and enriching experience of this thing called life. The affirmations are going to be appearing on your screen, and I invite you to say them with me as they appear. I open to the greater mystery of life forever unfolding. I listen to the voice within, which guides and directs my steps. I trust divine navigation through waters I cannot chart. When God's plans for my life seem too big for me, I grow into the shoes. I stretch beyond my comfort zone. I refrain from dismissing inner callings because they seem so unusual. Greater than you can imagine is Spirit's calling card. If you're willing to be anything, then you can be everything, even if it's not the something that you thought you wanted to be. That last line is from my book, The Sacred Yes. And I invite you to just take a moment to zero in on these affirmations. See if you're pulled to any one in particular. Is it that I listen to the voice within that guides and directs my step? Maybe it's I stretch beyond my comfort zone. Perhaps it's I open to the greater mystery of life forever unfolding. I trust divine navigation through waters I cannot chart. Something in here is calling you. And what I want to invite you to do is to come back. Come back to this. Review it again. And you can focus on the whole thing. You can focus on one or two lines. But to let yourself really be with it, let it simmer, let it saute, I like to say, let it marinate in your consciousness. Repeat it often so that you can get to a point of embodiment with it. And I guarantee you that you'll start vibrating at a higher frequency and experience greater power and possibilities. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to invite in someone from our virtual community. I am so pleased that she's coming in to us from Salem, New Hampshire. And we're going to invite in Martina Mosconi. Hi, Martina. How are you doing?
Rev D, how are you? It's so good to see you. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so glad to have you here, really. And, and I just love technology that we can be on opposite sides of the country
Yeah.
and still be here together. Technology is really, really wonderful in that way. So I know I sent you ahead of time the affirmations and told you what the topic was,
Yeah.
growing into my shoes. And I want to give you a moment if there are some ways in which that topic or those affirmations are striking you. Uh, and perhaps there's some questions or some challenges around that that you might want to suggest that we focus on and address in our talk today.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, this is what a great topic, right? And it's so timely for me. Like me, so many of my friends, so many people I meet, everyone is in a state of transition right now, like everyone. And
Yes.
somebody today said Mercury's in retrograde. That's why everything is so messed up. And I'm like, I don't know about that dude Mercury, but some shit's going down and I don't always understand it. So I guess I love the growing into my shoes because I feel like that's what I'm doing. That's what I see everyone doing. What my question is,
Mhm.
and this is around career, but it certainly applies to life. But for 30 years, I've been this corporate somebody, running communications, doing everything um, communications related.
Mhm.
And I got laid off, which I think was a blessing.
Mhm.
Um, but when I read the words, I trust divine navigation through waters I cannot chart.
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute. I've been doing this 30 years, so I think I'm pretty good at it, but I'm not anymore. Or maybe I am, but I don't feel it anymore.
Mhm.
And I want to transition to another area, but I don't know how to do it. And I don't know where to find that trust. And
Mm.
I think a lot of people are there too, right? It's the
Yes.
world is changing. And how do we find those shoes? You know?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable and for voicing what's on all of our hearts. Thank you so much. And thank you for also saying yes and stepping up and making a contribution to help get this message out. I appreciate that as well. Just your yes. So let's just all take a breath. Um, when when I was first writing these affirmations and giving the talk a title, at first I had it growing into the shoes. And that spirit voice said, nope, you've got to go back and change it and make it my shoes. And I was asking for clarification. Well, what was the point of that? And I really got it that when we think it of as the shoes, then it feels like it's sort of not personal, or it could be somewhat amorphous, general, uh, and not necessarily dealing with us in particular, but there's some of that, yes, but that's another topic. This topic is my shoes. Okay, my shoes, the ones that are for me, the ones that are for my life. I often say that if your dream, and I'm not just talking about the things that you cook up in your mind, but that certain something that's just calling you. If at some level your dream does not scare you half to death, You need to dream a bigger dream. Okay? Because that's not a dream that you have, that's a plan. That's a plan. The dream, your feeling of purpose, all of that is always going to feel like it's way too big. Way too big. How are you ever going to be able to accomplish that? We make the mistake of feeling like I have to evolve, I have to transform, I have to grow, I have to become more experienced or whatever that is before I can step into the shoes. Like it's all just too much or it's just all too big for me. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to step into it. You have to own it and claim it. Own it and claim it. Own it is when you admit it to yourself. Claim it is when you're willing to admit it to other people. When you're willing to be known in the world as that. When I think of the shoes and the shoes being too big, I go back to thinking of my mother. Whenever we went shopping, I was always very excited to get something new. But invariably, it would always be a little too big at first. Okay, think of the metaphor here. This is what happens in life. That we get the new, we get the new opportunities, we get the new relationships, we get the new whatever. But initially, it may feel like it's just a little bit beyond our capacity, a little bit beyond our skill set, a little bit beyond my heart space or my bandwidth of even having the attention to be able to handle all this good that's coming my way at this moment. Like, God, can you just slow it down and ration it out a little bit? Pace yourself. Don't overwhelm me with all my blessings. And I remember in one of my spirit letters, it was calling us out on this, saying that you get pissed off at me, at the universe, when it feels like there's not enough coming your way. And then you also get pissed off when you feel like you're being overwhelmed and too much is coming your way. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? There's this literal, like, growing in to it that we have to do. We're ending Passover season right now. And Passover is celebrating the story of the Hebrews on the Exodus journey out of when they were in captivity on their way to, quote unquote, the promised land. And in that particular story, like as metaphor, they were in the desert for 40 years. But contrary to popular belief, they were not lost. They weren't just roaming around. They're actually in all these different campsites. And at each campsite has a name, which basically describes what it was that was happening, to them as a people during that particular time. And during these 4 years, they were preparing. During these 40 years, it was like growing into the shoes. And nobody who was in captivity went into the promised land. Now, their great prophet Moses was the leader, taking them through this sojourn, through the journey. But Moses didn't go into the promised land. In fact, Martin Luther King's speech the night before he was killed, when he was talking to the sanitation workers in Tennessee. And he was sharing with them something that Moses is quoted as saying, that I may not get there with you, but I've been to the mountaintop, which is what Moses says. I've seen it. I may not get in there, but I've seen it. Okay? The only ones that made it over into the quote unquote promised land were the ones born on the journey. The ones born on the journey. Okay? And such as it is with us. The you that makes it into that next level, that next layer that's calling you up, that's calling you out, won't be the same you. It won't be. It'll be the you that's born on your journey. It'll be you that's growing along the way. That's the you that will make it there. Take a breath. Take a breath. We have to be able to understand ourselves within a context larger than ourselves. Okay, there's us and rolling around and, doing our thing in life. And our tendency is to want to think, how can I bring in universal spiritual principles? How can I bring in the divine? How can I bring in the powers that be, the life itself, the universe and whatnot to help me in the stuff that I'm doing that's based out of my personality, that's based out of my personal truth, that's based out of my sense of experience, the narrative that I tell myself about what's going on. Okay. So there's me, and then I'm trying to put this infinite into me. Doesn't work that way. You cannot squeeze the infinite into the finite. It just doesn't work that way. Everything is within the infinite, but you can't put the infinite in the finite. So we have to literally shift our sense of orientation to ourselves, where we're not thinking so much anymore in a kind of siloed, individualistic, there's me, and how do I get this universal stuff just into me? But to relocate yourself and say, my life exists within the context of life. My life exists within the context of the greater I am, that whatever it is that I'm here for, whatever this is that I'm here to do, it's not just for me. I'm here to make a contribution to something that's much greater. Take another breath. Transition is afoot. We can feel it everywhere. It's interesting, this metaphor about the promised land journey. I remember before COVID, I was using that story once again as a metaphor. So in the story, it says that the people who were traveling during these 40 days, these 40 years in the desert, said they would go to these different camps, but you never knew how long you were going to be at the camp. Could be 2 hours, 2 months, 2 years. You didn't know. But their clue was a cloud. It said that they followed a cloud by day and this pillar of fire by night. And whenever the cloud moved, they packed up and they moved. And I kept saying to people, the cloud is moving. I said, I don't know what it is. I can't even begin to imagine what is so big And I came up with the word cosmic because that's the only thing that I could think of. I said, this is beyond individuals. This is beyond nations. I said, the world's not going to blow up. It's not that. I said, but there's something huge, huge, huge that's going to happen. And nothing will be able to stay. It's like the cloud, boom, it's going to move. And everybody and everything has got to move. We just will not be able to stay the same. When COVID hit and everything started shutting down, it was like, this cosmic thing was a pandemic. Okay. As we were starting to come out of it and survived, because not every group was able to do that, I was using the term, we weathered the storm. And I could hear my spirit voice say, stop saying that. Stop saying that. It says, the point of going through a storm is not to be the same on the other end of it. That's not the point. And I knew in my heart, like all of us did, that there really is no back. There's no going back. And that's against nature. Nature doesn't go back. It always moves forward, and it recreates, it remakes itself. What I know about this spiritual journey is that when something is complete, it's complete. I don't care how much you try to resuscitate it, revive it, it's over. It has expired. Literally, its shelf life, boom, over. It's not coming with you. Anything that's supposed to come with you, it will come. Okay. But it'll come in however it's supposed to come. It may come in a different shape. It may come in a different form. But what I know is that the universe wastes nothing. Nothing. It's like a great big compost pile that takes everything that's ever happened, decomposes it, and lets something else new come out of it. So even when I say that something can't come along, what I'm saying is that it can't come along like that. It can't come along in that form. But it will be part of the big compost pile where even the crap of our life is the fertilizer for whatever else is next, whatever else is new. If there are certain skill sets that you have, I don't know, let's say you've been a teacher. Let's say you've been a marketing executive, as the conversation that we just had. Whatever it is next is going to utilize that. It's going to utilize it. But it's going to utilize it in a way that's bigger, greater, more expansive, and a greater blessing than however you were doing it before. That doesn't mean whatever you were doing before was bad. It just means it's graduation time. The universe always goes towards next and the evolution. So we say, well, I was really good at what I was. I could handle that. I knew that. That also means that's a certain degree of stagnation. When we get to that point where I've mastered it. I've done it. I've conquered it. I can handle this. I can predict this. I know this. We think that's being at the pinnacle. Mm-mm. The great masters in life, the great scientist, the artist, uh, in any profession, they're always pushing the boundary. They're going beyond their personal best. The the ones that are writing the books with the PhDs and the MDs and all these degrees back behind their names, they aren't the know-it-alls who figured it all out. They're the ones that are constantly learning. They're constantly growing. See? And they're writing about and publishing and making music about and arts and films and whatnot about the things that they've been learning on their journey as they grow. That's the invitation to us now. If you are in any kind of sort of way awake, you were feeling this call. It's not just about us as individuals, sort of when I say it's my shoes, but each of us has to fill our own shoes in order to be part of the larger beloved community. If we're going to have a basketball team, everybody has to play basketball. You have to play, I got to play, we all have to play. Well, it's the same thing. If we're all in this game of life, so to speak, we all have to play. We all have to up our game right now. And I am so serious about this. This is my shoes. Yes, it's true for us individually, but it's also true for us collectively. Okay? They're bigger shoes to grow into. I was a political science major my first 4 years in college. And then I switched to econ and eventually wound up getting an MBA. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I just knew I was going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a social justice lawyer. And I know I'm dating myself, but it feels really pertinent and relevant to my life right now that I happened to be in college during Watergate. And so many of, quote unquote, the president's men were alum from my university. I was at University of Southern California, USC, in Los Angeles. Actually, third generation USC. My parents met on campus there, and all my relatives went there. Actually, 3 of us graduated the same day. And this particular time when we were deep off into this, who are we as a nation, in this kind of wake-up call. And I'd always thought that democracy was this strong bulwark kind of thing, that our institutions were impenetrable, that being a social change agent, it just felt like, oh my God, how can we ever get anything moved? And I've accomplished a lot, but it just seemed like such effort and struggle. And to look now and to really see how incredibly fragile a democracy really is, how much of an actual experiment it is. And because I was poli-sci, I can put it into context about what's happened in other parts in history, and other times in history, in other parts of the world, and to see these various patterns that are happening. And I can tell you right now that just as with our personal lives and our personal careers and COVID upending everything, and we're being called into greater spaces and bigger blessings, that's happening with us collectively as well. it's happening with us, particularly here in this nation, about how do we show up together? Okay, how do we show up together? We're being graduated now into higher levels, and we have to fill up these shoes. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We can't worry about what everybody else is doing with their shoes. And we can't get mad that other people are filling up their shoes when we're sitting around whining and complaining, thinking our shoes will be too big for us ever to fill. No, 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 no. Own it and claim it. Now is the time for us to claim and to step into our highest values, our highest ideals, our highest aspirations. Don't worry about if it feels like it's too big or not. That's kind of irrelevant. We just have to grow. I remember one of my spirit letters, it was saying we need to get rid of that idea of the glass being half empty or half full, because it has us focusing on the wrong thing. That when we're saying that it's half empty, we're not even focusing on the water at all. We're that too much of our attention is focused on the wrong thing. They gave this example. It said, if you have 6 ounces of water in a 5-ounce glass, you would say it's overflowing. If you have 6 ounces of water in a 6-ounce glass, you would say your glass is full. If you have 6 ounces of water in a 6-gallon container, you'd say you don't have anything. It's the same amount of water. It's the same amount of water. Okay? We're just busy judging it by the container. So just bless the water. Just bless the water. It's the same thing here. The shoes are a container. We don't need to judge by that. Whether the shoes of our personal life feel too big, whether the shoes of a functional democracy feel too big, the shoes of a new career, they feel too big. Don't worry about all that. You just keep growing. You just keep growing. You just keep declaring, I am enough. I'm enough. And I will be more. I'm enough and I will be more. At the church, we used to tell people as they were joining, we love you just the way you are. And you can't stay that way. Parents are doing that with children. Baby, I love you just the way you are. And you can't stay that way. We're children of the universe. The universe is doing that to us. Love you just the way you are. And you can't stay that way. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for what's next. We're ready to grow. No, your shoes are not too big for you. You can fill them up. It's the you that grows along the journey. Just like your mom may not have bought the clothes to fit you in that exact moment because you were going to grow. Well, the universe is doing that to us. It's not just giving us stuff that's like nice and cozy and snug and like tight right now. No, 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 no. It may seem a little oversized because we're going to grow into it. We're going to grow into it. Take a breath. Take a breath. No matter how much we think we can chart the course of life, you can't. You can't. Stuff happens. It just happens. And No spiritual practice promises you a rose garden. They promise you resilience. That's what they promise. They don't promise you that you won't get subjected to the winds and the rains and the storms of life. They promise that if you're willing to stay anchored, if you're willing to keep recalibrating up to your frequency of your divine nature, if you're willing to be loving and kind in your heart, that you'll come out on the other side, that you'll make it. And even if the circumstances don't change, your experience within the circumstance. See, so you can still find love in your heart in the middle of a concentration camp. You can still find love in your heart in the middle of slavery. You can still find love in your heart in the middle of cancer. You can still find, love in your heart in the middle of breakups and divorces. That the outer world won't define you. It won't define you. And I can guarantee you that it's an and. For every action in the universe, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're being called into places where it feels like the shoes are too big, it's because you've outgrown the ones where you are. I was describing it before as feeling kind of snug and comfy and comfortable. But it's like a pot in a plant, and the roots keep growing. It'll break the pot. If you don't answer that call, it'll feel like you're being pushed out. We get that pink slip. Somebody breaks up with us, whatever that is. So many times in our hearts, that's a move we thought we should have been making. And I'll get pissed off. What are you doing leaving me? I'm about to leave you. What are you doing pushing me out after all these years? But something in you was already telling you, maybe there's more. Like maybe I should be doing more. So don't worry about the catalysts. Okay, don't worry about all those outer things that seem to be catalytic and motivated us or knocked us into the next orbit. Don't worry about all that. Okay? Just don't, because it's not always pretty. Our places of growth, just like labor. Labor's not pretty, labor's not fun. But it's the nature of the birth. And if you're willing to pay less attention to the external and just heed that inner call, I promise you that you will have absolutely everything that you need to be whomever it is that life is calling you to be. That's a guarantee. Just be it. Because as you become it, your energy attracts all the things that need to support you in that right there. It's glorious. When we look beyond being afraid, when we stop tripping about not being enough, to say, I got this. It's my life. It's my life. I love life. Life loves me. We're going someplace. And I'm here for the ride. Strap me in. What's next? Where we going, life? Because I'm showing up with my A game. No matter what's going on, I'm showing up with my A game. With my heart open, in possibility consciousness, completely engaged, hope. I'm showing up with all my hope. Let's take a breath. Let's take it to prayer. How grateful we are. We're so grateful for blessings too numerous. As the psalmist said, if I had 10,000 tongues, it wouldn't be enough to say thank you. In this moment right now, we open up the floodgates of our heart. We allow all of the compassion, empathy, the kindness, the generosity. We allow it to flow. We're open up to support and to be supported. We're ready for the new. We're ready for what's next. We honor where we've been. Keep the best that will. Anything that is complete, we pry our little fingers off of it. Maybe it's people in our lives who are sloughing off the mortal coil. We have the courage to say, God, speak on your journey. See you on the other side. People, places, and things that we may be clinging on to. But we know that life is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. That's all. We don't go from life to an afterlife. It's just different expressions of the same life. Such as it is in all areas of our life. We're forever birthing. We're forever releasing. We're forever bringing in something new. Some areas of our life are winter, some areas are spring. It's all good. It's all good. So in this moment right now, we call forth. We call forth that perfect pattern, line in everything. We call it forth to its fullest fruition. Healing of the body temple. Healing of our financial bodies, our body politic. In all areas of our life, all needs met. From relationships to finances. From health to global issues. In the mind of God, done. We rest in this, we stand in this. We breathe into it, we embody it. And we release it so it can just be. Amen. Shalom. Halt. Hallelujah. Let's breathe that in. We're praying community at Inner Light. We have prayer practitioners, people who have studied literally years to hold that space for you. You'll see there's information scrolling now across your screen about how to reach them. You can give them a call at 831-465-9090, extension 254. You can send us an email, the number 4 and the word prayer at innerlightministries.com. And a prayer practitioner will get back to you. It's all confidential. It's nothing canned. It's all individual and specifically tailored for you. Whether it's something in your own life, something with a loved one, maybe it's a global concern, whatever it is. It could be something where you just want somebody to be with you to stand in agreement. No need to go it alone. We're there for you. Please give us a call. Give us a call. Thank you. And we invite you to come and participate with us as well. We are in this particular space every Sunday. And then on the first Sunday of every month, we do a gathering in person at the Resource Center for Nonviolence in the Santa Cruz area. It is also now streaming. That happens at 3 p.m. From 3 to 5. There's refreshments that follow, all kinds of engagement that we do. And that's going to be next Sunday. So this space will be here in the morning. And then if you want to check us out later on in the day or to come on down, we invite you. In May, our music inspiration that's going to be with us is Heather Houston and the Yale Latte Choir. In June, it's going to be on Pride Day. And we're bringing in hip hop artist Gina Renee as part of the broader Pride celebrations. And in July, Jamie Lula will be back with us. So mark your calendars. We hope to see you there. Follow us on the calendar, and you'll have a chance to see the other things that are going on. Some are virtual, some are in person, and we would love for you to be there with us in community. It's our time of conscious contribution and giving. I say thank you to all of you who make that extra effort, that take that step to circulate the divine resources that you have. We're an independent ministry. We're not part of a larger denomination. So literally all of our revenue is coming from spirit through the generous donation of supporters like you. On your screen, you'll see that there are different ways in which you're able to make that contribution. It's a QR code that will lead you to an online donation portal. You can use a credit card, debit card. You can even use PayPal. There's an opportunity there to also make it recurring. I encourage you to take advantage of that. If you're on the website, there's a donate button that's right there. Or perhaps you prefer a different mobile app, and you can use something like Cash App. Whether you are with us for the very first time, or whether you've been a generous donor with us throughout the years, I want you to say thank you. I want to say thank you to you, literally from the bottom of our heart. Every nickel, dollar, and dime is going into helping us to multiply this consciousness. And remember that your generosity returns to you. We live in a reciprocal universe where we receive with the same generosity and measure with we give. It's been a pleasure to be with you throughout this time. Our motto at Inner Light is to take this consciousness and multiply it. We look forward to seeing you next time. Peace and blessings to you.